Clyde has expired. Mr. Clyde.
Thank you. You're an attorney. I never got to do this, please, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Acting Attorney General Blanche, for being here today. I want to commend the Department of Justice's work in protecting Americans' Second Amendment rights. Your fiscal year 27 budget requested $1.4 million to establish a Second Amendment rights section within the Civil Rights Division, and I was proud to lead an amendment in the FY27 CJS Appropriations Act to codify it. This section monitors state and local laws for unconstitutional infringements and pursues enforcement where necessary. Unlike the Biden DOJ, which sought to charge service-disabled veterans with felonies for using stabilizing braces, the Trump Department of Justice has already sued multiple jurisdictions over unconstitutional gun laws, and I look forward to ensuring that this office has the resources that it needs. Congressional Republicans and President Trump also delivered the biggest Second Amendment victory in over 90 years by eliminating the NFA transfer and manufacturing taxes on short-barreled firearms and suppressors in the One Big Beautiful Bill. For 91 years, the NFA subjected gun owners to these unconstitutional infringements. Removing these taxes is a major step towards restoring those freedoms. However, Congress's intent was to remove both the taxation and the registration requirements, as they are inseparably linked. Without the NFA tax, there is no foundation for the registration requirement, since, as I understand it, the registration exists solely to account for the taxes paid, literally by the serial number of the firearm. Yet the Department of Justice is currently not following this congressional intent. So, sir, do you agree that the National Firearms Act, codified in the Internal Revenue Code and originally part of the Treasury Department, is a tax law?
Yes, although my disagreement respectfully is on the intent of Congress. If that's the congressional intent, I welcome it. It's not an objection the department has to the goal you're talking about. It's just understanding the congressional intent when it comes to whether the tax is extended.
Well, if it's a tax law and you eliminate the tax, then, you know, then the registration, in my opinion, has no foundation, and I wrote it. So,
well, that's pretty good
okay.
on intent, I suppose.
If the NFA registry no longer records the payment of a tax on the zero-tax firearms, and it exists solely to register them, then this appears to be in direct conflict with the Firearm Owners Protection Act of 1986, which explicitly prohibits any federal database or system that tracks firearms or their owners. And I would like to repeat that for you. And it says in 926, section USC 18, 926, it says, no such rule or regulation prescribed after the date of the enactment of the Firearm Owners Protection Act may require that any system of registration of firearms, firearms owners, or firearms transactions or dispositions be established. That's the FOPA of 1986. So, in your view, is the Department of Justice complying with the FOPA's prohibition against the firearm registry for these zero-taxed firearms?
Look, I think I am familiar with this issue. I know it's under active litigation, so I want to be careful. I will tell you that is something that we're working on getting to a good answer to.
Okay, well, I encourage you to have a great answer, and that is to eliminate the registration for those things that are not taxed when the database is indeed a tax database.
Understood.
Thank you. Now, I was happy to see that this committee to take action on this very important issue by prohibiting the registration of zero-tax firearms in the FY27 CJS Appropriations Bill, and I look forward to continuing this fight moving forward. So I'm going to give you some ammunition there, okay?
Okay.
All right, thank you. Now, Acting Attorney General Blanche, I also want to applaud the fantastic work the Trump administration and your DOJ have done in curbing the waste, fraud, and abuse of taxpayer dollars. Vice President Vance's task force to eliminate fraud is already leading to results, uncovering billions of dollars in fraud, and specifically your department has created the National Fraud Enforcement Division to lead the federal government's efforts to investigate, prosecute, and remedy rampant fraud. My constituents want accountability for the fraud that has siphoned away their hard-earned tax dollars, so I certainly welcome the click of handcuffs on those stealing from the American taxpayers. So can you elaborate on some of the most egregious cases that your department is prosecuting or has already prosecuted?
I mean, look, yes. There's a couple of examples. The most egregious cases are when individuals create completely fictitious organizations, whether it's a daycare center, whether it's an autism center. And so this is money, our tax dollars, going to completely fictitious entities, and it runs through the state. And what we found in some states is there's virtually no compliance, there's no check on the system, and so it's in some ways a very easy crime to catch once we identify it because it's completely made up. And so this isn't an example of a doctor checking the wrong box, but is actually performing a service. This is pure theft, and we've seen that unfortunately too much in this country, and so that's again one of the main reasons why we started the new fraud division, is because we will save hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars through this effort.
Thank you very much, and Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
Mr. Clyde.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First, Mr. Acting Attorney General, I'm sorry to hear that the weaponization fund is not moving forward. You would have my full support. When our government is weaponized so as to steal money from innocent law-abiding citizens, whether by making the process into the penalty or forcing citizens to spend their resources on legal fees for their defense, or by actually seizing their bank accounts through civil asset forfeiture when there is no criminal prosecution, it is only right and fair to make these citizens whole. And as a victim myself, for which every solitary member on this committee who is 8 years or more in Congress voted for the bill that has my name on it, the federal law that has my name on it, against the IRS, people need to be made whole when the government has been weaponized against them. But what I'd like to talk to you about, other than that, is in 1873, Congress enacted the Comstock Act, 18 U.S.C. Section 1461, which prohibits the mailing of abortion-inducing materials in the United States. Although the statute has been amended numerous times, including as recently as 1994, Congress has never repealed these criminal prohibitions. And as Justice Thomas recently noted, the Comstock Act remains valid federal law and is fully enforceable. So my question to you is, how will the Department of Justice ensure that this federal law prohibiting the mailing of abortion-inducing drugs is properly enforced? And I wish I had more time to really go through this, because we in the state of Georgia have a heartbeat bill, and we prohibit this type of drug, all right, inducing abortions, and yet it can come across from other states, all right, and kill innocent unborn children. How will the Department of Justice ensure that this federal law is enforced?
So that's an important law and an important question, and I will tell you that there's a lot of effort within the department, and it's not just at the Department of Justice, it's other agencies in the federal government into how the best way is to make sure that we're protecting the rights of Georgians and other individual states, but also the rights of every American. And that you're right. I wish we had more time to discuss that, because it's a complicated issue. On the first question that you asked, I could not agree with you more that this Department of Justice was weaponized, unfortunately, against many, many Americans, and we're trying every day to fix it. And we've made a lot of progress, but we have a lot more to do.
Well, thank you. And by the way, I had an apology from Mr. Lewis, the ranking member of that subcommittee. Y'all remember him? All right. He said, I want to apologize to you for what a piece of my government, what the IRS did to you. I wish you well. I thank you, and I yield.